Taiga auf on. Hoi noi muigin. Taiga dima. That concludes the category section. Frankie was a bit worried, to be honest, right? But when you practice, but great to be here. What a great time to be alive, isn't it? Like, in 2011, we learned about convolutional neural networks. I couldn't even read it, let alone pronounce it. Now I'm putting it in a keynote presentation. Then we learned about recurring neural networks, right? The convolutionals are about geospatial data, about images. The recurring neural networks are about data that is coming in text, right? So tokens. We learned about tokens, and we learned about transformer architectures. And then we're talking about encoder-only architectures or decoder-only architectures. We then talk about tokenization and the cost per token. Who would have thought this is all like coming to us, right? And now we're in the middle of this AI train that keeps us on our toes on a daily basis. Literally on a daily basis, new research papers are published. New open source projects are published. The open source community keeps a firm hold on that. Everything that I just talked about runs on Linux. And every single day, the open source community makes that Linux stack a bit better. Then we orchestrate those microservices and those distributed workloads in a distributed world full of edge with Kubernetes. And every single day, the open source community makes this Kubernetes stack a little bit better. And because everything Red Hat does is based on open source, every single day the Red Hat stack gets a little bit better. And that's why I believe that right now, there is no better place to be other than right here. So let's kick it off. So today is about looking back across different cycles of technology waves to instill the learnings and taking it forward, right? And so in this presentation on the slide you see here, you see the mainframe on the very left. Who associates with mainframes? Thank you very much, Victor. So do I. The interesting story is I walked into an automotive company in Germany, and the very first thing they told me is that they're going to get rid of this mainframe soon. And guess what? That mainframe is still here today. It's rock-solid technology. IBM Emperor 5, a Linux-based mainframe, just came out. Rock-solid technology, still here, right? Then we moved into PC, personal computers. I remember installing Slackware 2.3 very early on. It took me forever, but I never forget that feeling when you type in Start X and the GUI came up for the first time, right? And then we had NT 3.5. I remember we needed to install a service pack to actually get the internet working, right? Those were the days. Then networking, token ring is where that I touched basically at my work, right? And while I was plugging in token ring network cables, Marietta, our esteemed leader in APAC, for example, has networking experience leading one of the most powerful networking companies really in APAC, right? Then the desktop internet came along, mobile internet, and now cloud, right? And we're still in that cloud. And the question is that we want to ask ourselves today, so what can we distill from all those technology waves, but specifically from the cloud, that we can take forward into the generative AI era? We know that about 1.6 billion people, and thereof 60% are adults, using generative AI today. And we also witness a faster growth of that wave than any other technology waves before. So let's look into that and see what we can learn from that. The question that we will be deliberating today is basically, how do we navigate the transition from the cloud era to the AI era? And or better, how do we balance both cloud and AI? And the thing I love most about Red Hat is the power of a platform. It's really, yesterday's cloud engineer is today's edge engineer is tomorrow's AI engineer. And that's possible because we do a lot of undifferentiated heavy lifting. Talked about this already today in the morning, but what it means is we take this really important work away from our customers so that they can focus on the innovation, on the differentiation that is important for them in the marketplace, right? So what are those undifferentiated heavy lifting things? Like making Kubernetes enterprise ready and supporting it, developing drivers for the latest GPUs, TPUs, NPUs, so that you have the choice of hardware, right? And this is what I want us to keep in mind moving forward, because there are similarities what we've seen in the cloud and the AI. So what have we learned of the area? Let's have a look. So what I love about this slide is because it looks back, but at the same time it also looks forward. You see here the four foundational pillars of the cloud journey: adaptation, consistency, innovation, and collaboration. Adaptation, we always talk about private cloud and public cloud, and obviously hybrid cloud. But now a new player has arrived on the scene, and Peter already talked about this earlier in his opening remarks presentation. It's about sovereign cloud, right? So control your destiny. That's what sovereignty is all about, right? Your data, your hardware, your operations here, right? Control this. Then the consistency. Automation of the foundational pillar is important for deployments, for your day one, day two operations. And so is security, obviously, so that you get across your cloud, across your edge environment, across your AI environment, consistent security posture. Then innovation, obviously. We have 200 cloud services in the last few years being made publicly available and making a big difference, right? We're talking about S3 storage, for example, or we're talking about compute nodes, GPU nodes, CPUs, networking. All this has come up with a proprietary API, and yet the open source community has still delivered also an innovation on top of that. So with open source projects, so CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, basically has roughly 200 projects running in that space at the moment, and there are thousands out there, right? But we're talking about AI and cloud at the moment. And Kubernetes, for example, is one of the largest ones. The second largest one is OTel, Open Telemetry, which is also about data and feeding into AI. Then the human aspect on the very right here, collaboration, DevOps, GitOps, platform engineering, FinOps. We're going to cover in a bit why there's an evolution between DevOps and platform engineering that has to do with shift left. But those collaboration themes are very important, right? Because capabilities for an organization are people, process, and technology. And what's really interesting is also that the management style has changed due to technology, right? Because when I was young and grew up, my boss always knew more than I did, and so did his boss. But now with technology moving so fast, it's more important than ever to collaborate with open source and open practices, for example. So all this, what I just discussed, we bring together as Red Hat in the open hybrid cloud, and it displays here on the screen. At the very bottom, we have choice of location, physical, virtual, private cloud, sovereign cloud, public cloud, or edge computing, right? Then we have consistent, secure infrastructure platform. That's where Red Hat comes in. And then we have integrated container and virtual machines. So now OpenShift runs both virtual machines and containers. And what I love best is when I created a demo where you can load balance between a container and a virtual machine running on OpenShift, running the same application. And that's a really powerful concept, because it allows you, our customers and partners, to determine the pace of transformation and modernization. Okay? So, and then in terms of workloads, that's any workload, but on top, again, the collaboration. We have something called the Open Practice Library, which is a foundation of practices for our services organization, but it really allows people in organizations to go out and research the new way of collaboration, new way of innovation, bring that straight into the organization, and then move forward to create those capabilities across people, process, and technology. And on the right-hand side, obviously, as I said earlier in the previous slide, we've got obviously the automation pillar, which is very important to drive that security posture consistently across your entire estate. We've done some research as well with our customers, and we got some really, I find, impressive numbers, right? It's a 3-year return on investment that we see in here. And it just shows you what that power of yesterday's cloud engineer is today's edge engineer, tomorrow's AI engineer really brings to your organization. So we also have created a practice around it. It's called the BDP practice, the business value practice. And if you ever want help or support in how to calculate your return on investment, then that's what we are here for, to work with our customers to help you define the return on investment specifically for your organization. And we're obviously not doing that alone. We have a big ecosystem, but we also have a big engineering part that focuses just on partners. So the ecosystem engineering group is growing bigger and bigger. And that's important to actually enable all those things that I said earlier, the drivers, the new workloads, to make sure they're all available for our partners and our customers across our platforms. So no matter where you build and where you want to run your application or infrastructure, Red Hat will be there to support you. And also, we even now got a choice of what operating model you choose, right? Do you want to outsource your platform operations to a cloud provider? You have the teams of the hyperscalers and the Red Hat sitting side by side to support you, or do you rather run it alone? That's totally your choice. But Red Hat makes sure that this is consistent and secure for you. So we're gonna cover 3 different customer aspects today, me and my friend Frankie. This is the first one, CAE, Canadian Aviation Electronics. They train about 135,000 pilots every year, and it is very likely that whenever you take a plane, you've been flown by a pilot that has been trained in one of those simulators. That makes about 5 seconds between flights, so one flight every 5 seconds in those simulators. Why do I bring that up? Because their business goal was very tech-centric, actually. They wanted a better developer experience, right? Increase revenue, reduce costs, that's what developer experience is about. And also code that doesn't go into production is actually not valuable to any company, right? So they also want to accelerate innovation that provides self-service capabilities. This is all part of empowering and creating this foundation. The streamlined workflows through the CI/CD tooling were obviously very important to make the easy or the right path, the easy path, right? To make it easy to do the right things in terms of security and compliance, for example. They created reusable templates, automated security and compliance policies, as I said, and they have a mixed operating model. They're using managed OpenShift service, but also a self-managed OpenShift service, and that's supported also by the Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management and the cluster security. They're running 12 clusters. They're running 12 clusters across 7 regions. We've Red Hat OpenShift with this standardization. They are utilizing 3 different clouds, and they have 2,000 developers that they're serving. So now, when I grew up, we always, in IT, we always thought about the production environment is more important than the developer environment. But if you have 2,000 developers sitting around, right, and can't work, if your development environment goes somewhere, that mathematics might change slightly, right? Okay, so the question now is there still more opportunity to optimize and modernize our cloud environment, our cloud journey? We obviously think there is, right? And the core strategies that companies double down now is twofold. It's efficiency and modernization. Frankie and I are going to walk you through that theme now. The first part is going to be efficiency and modernization. And the why behind it is because our technology and our processes are the lifeblood that build that capability for organizations. The critical foundation, and it's very important to understand also that in terms of the next technology waves that are coming, right? Do I need to modernize? Do I need to make it more efficient? And the Red Hat goal is to empower you to drive both efficiency and modernization. So Frankie, why don't you walk us through the efficiency bit and tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Andreas. And let's see how Red Hat can help you to drive efficiency and modernization. First of all, I would like to highlight a few couple of news alarms coming from Red Hat Summit back in May. The first one is RHEL 10, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 10. It was announced and it was going to simplify your operation and security. And then Ansible automation continue to roll to expand the automation to improve your efficiency, and also Red Hat OpenShift. It's going to simplify your operation across multiple cloud platforms. And then I would like to dive in a little bit into RHEL 10. RHEL 10 introduced a lot of new capability, and there is a breakout session today to go into more details. And I would like to three of them. The first one is RHEL Image Mode. It is an OS that delivers putable, immutable, and OCI-compatible image. It's going to simplify your provisioning, day-to-day operation, and also simplify your security. And then RHEL Lightspeed. It is an AI assistant that embeds into your RHEL command line interface. It is free of charge. It comes with your Red Hat subscription, and you just need to download it and enable it. And it's going to simplify your daily operation tasks. And finally, Cloud Optimized RHEL. It is a pre-configured cloud image that's designed for public cloud environment. And it contains special profile that's optimized parameter like CPU, memory. You're going to deliver faster, and then it will guarantee best performance and consistency across multi-cloud provider. And the Cloud Optimized RHEL is integrated with Marketplace on AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, so that you can simplify your deployment in multi-cloud setup. And I would like to double-click into image mode. We have introduced image mode to solve two problems here. The first one is how to contain drift, and then the second one is how to deliver your OS faster. And we take an advantage of 10 years plus of knowledge that building things around container, and we bring that experience into the real OS. So it is a container image now. So you're going to reuse or leverage your existing DevOps and CI/CD practice. And the updates and rollback are just as simple as updating your smartphone. And since it is an immutable image, you are not going to worry about your drift that causes a key issue. And then we combine the OS with app to simplify your appliance creation. It can enable faster development and faster delivery. Now, I'm going to show you a demonstration about how to use RHEL Lightspeed in your daily operation. Imagine that it is 2 a.m. now and you receive an alert saying that one of your web server is not working. And then you rush to data center. And it seems that there's an error code here. And in a data center environment, it's hard for me to go for the main page or search for documentation in the internet. So I asked RHEL Lightspeed, how do I fix it? Since RHEL Lightspeed is content aware and it understands natural language. So we will search through our internal database and documentation and search for the best possible answer. In this example, there is a syntax error in our configuration file. It also provides guidelines for me to resolve the issue. In this example, you can see that how easy it is when you combine AI with your daily operation. Now, I'm going to pass to Andreas to talk about IT optimization.
Thank you, Frankie. So the easiest way to think about improving efficiency is really through automation, right? And the numbers here speak for themselves. Reduction in lead time, reduction in application performance errors, reduction in error response times 80%, improvement in server patching time 90%. So those are impressive numbers. And it all flows back into a flow analytics, right? So this is like we talked about DevOps and we talked about flow analytics to basically determine what is the lead time and the process time before automation and after automation. That makes it very easy actually to calculate a return on investment or a business case internally. Then on top of that, we now have the acquisition of HashiCorp closed by IBM, And so you will see over the next year, tighter and tighter Terraform and Ansible integration. And then obviously Ansible Lightspeed is similar to what Frankie just showed, is your intelligence assistant. It's your Red Hatter sitting next to you, helping you creating playbooks or debug issues or just finding workflows and help you optimize your environment. Then the efficiency theme continued with OpenShift is about offloading your cloud operations. I already mentioned the term operating model a bit earlier, but this is really what it's about. So we're working with all those hyperscalers, Google, Oracle, IBM, AWS, Microsoft, to allow you to run the OpenShift estate managed for you in the public clouds. And again, OpenShift Lightspeed, again, your Red Hat is sitting next to you, in this case, helping you deploy workloads, debugging issues, or just finding better or smarter ways to utilize your servers and your clusters, okay? Then let's move on to modernization. We had efficiency, now we're looking at modernization. In that case, we're looking at modernizing virtualization, modernizing IT ops with automation and AI, and modernizing developer productivity. So why are we doing that? So the problem with modernizing virtualization that we're trying to solve is avoiding the vendor lock-in, right? And unexpected price increases. The goal is then to help modernizing existing virtual machine environments and give you exactly the choice. When I talked about load balancing a microservice or a container in a virtual machine, give you that choice and that power for you to decide when you want to switch over to container technologies, for example. Then modernizing IT operations, the tools here again is automation and AI, and the goal is to help automation as part of how you run your mission critical systems. And lastly, modernizing developer productivity. As I said earlier, code that is not in production doesn't provide any value for you or your customers, and that's what we also found in the past, is that those best practices that we call DevOps, right? They were getting too much for developers. So we started talking about shift left. Who remembers that? Shifting left. So there was always this conversation in conferences, shifting things left. What they did though is that we loaded more and more work onto the developers. So the actual developer feeling productive, or the time a developer feels productive, goes down, right? Because they have to attend meetings, they need to think about security, best practices, they need to think about maybe even energy efficiency, Kubernetes, deployment scripts and things like this. And that's where we also need to focus on the developer productivity, because to make innovation useful for businesses, it needs to be in production, right, as I said. So let's start off with virtualization first. This is Ashesh Badani, our Chief Product Officer in Boston at Summit, and he made a promise. His announcement was very clear. We want to be your virtualization partner of choice. And the reason is because we already have the tooling, MTV, for example, migration toolkit for virtualization, and the virtualization technology itself. And this year at Summit, we actually delivered on that promise, because our customers on OpenShift virtualization tripled, 3 times as many customers. We doubled the number of clusters in productions, twice as many clusters running OpenShift virtualization in production. We more than tripled the numbers of virtual machines managed by OpenShift virtualization. And this goes across the entire globe. So every region, every country, and across any industry. And I think that's a good reason to be happy with how we delivered against our promise and our message. So now the question is also, so the CTO office is part of engineering. I also want to share a little bit of how the engineering part plays a role in that. In order to do that, make it possible to accelerate and the workloads onto OpenShift virtualization, we needed to actually work with your partners of choice, not with ours, with yours. So we had to understand, what's your network provider of choice partner, right? What's your storage partner of choice? How do you do backup and restore? And we take that and then basically work with your partners of choice together, so that whatever your best practices and best and proven processes look like can be applied on OpenShift virtualization. So we then not only delivered a set of validated partners, we also had those partners, your partners of choice, co-presenting at Red Hat Summit in Boston with their partners of choice. And so that means, in summary, the gaps in virtualization technology that might have existed 18, 24 months ago are truly closed now. So if big transformation is a topic for you, then our services organizations and our services partners are basically ready to support you. And the way we do that usually is we put a playbook together that you see here. So we have a step-by-step program that is covered in phases. And those phases cover assessment, proof of value, and a migration factory. And with that approach, we have now customers migrating between tens or hundreds of virtual machines every day to the new environment. I think that's quite impressive, right? And our services team is available today outside after the presentation for you to dive into this a bit more. So now, Frankie, why don't you tell us what Emirates NBD has done with that migration factory?
Great. Thank you, Andres. I'm excited to share how Emirates NBD, one of the Middle East's largest financial group, has transformed its IT landscape using Red Hat OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization. As a top-tier banking group, Emirates NBD operates across several countries and managing lots of mission-critical services. They have already built a regional largest private and hybrid cloud environment. However, they face significant challenge from their legacy virtualization platform. For example, rising licensing costs, silo infrastructure for VM and container environment, and increasing complexity to operate those environments. As a result, Emirates NBD would like to build a unified platform that could seamlessly handle both VM and container resources. They need a solution not only to drive down the operational costs, but also to simplify the communication and management across different teams. So this is where we had OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization came in. By adopting this technology, the bank was able to migrate over 9,000 VM within 2 months. That is equal to 140 VM migrated per night. And with OpenShift on a single platform, their team could now run traditional VM and cloud-native containers side by side, sharing resources, streamlining workflow, and reducing complexity. And right now, the bank become more agile and can respond to the business demand much more faster. And I'm going to show you a demonstration about how to use Red Hat OpenShift Web Console to manage VM live migration. So I'm now in the Red Hat OpenShift Web Console, and you can see there is a special section called virtualization here. And when I click on the VM, I will go to a VM list. And I found out that one of the VM, the database server, is consuming a lot of resources. Right now, it is running on record log 3, and I would like to migrate to another log. I just need to click migrate here, and then the migration will start. And after a few seconds, the database server is up and running on the other worker log. Right now, it's running on log 2. And in this demonstration, you can see that how easy it is to manage both your VM and container side by side. Now, Andreas, please tell how to modernize IT operation.
Thank you, Frankie. So now we're transitioning from modernizing virtualization, what we just talked about, to modernizing IT operations. The foundation, as you can see, is the Ansible automation platform, and it puts the into place, really. The 4 key steps are standardizing on automation, and the idea is to really have cross teams sharing best practices, like a community of practice inside an organization on your automation platform. And you can only do that if you really use the same technology, right? Then you have event-driven Ansible. That's a very powerful concept because your automation platform suddenly becomes a sensing organ in your organization. Some alert fires in your open telemetry alerting system, for example, or your monitoring system, and then you can remediate that immediately with your event-driven Ansible. Then Ansible Lightspeed is your red hat next to you again, as I said earlier already, helping you creating those playbooks that Ansible has, but it actually can do a bit more. If you think about it, if you trigger event-driven Ansible to remediate a situation and you find a playbook, that's great, you execute this playbook. If you don't find that playbook, then Ansible Lightspeed can actually help you to create that playbook and then suggest to your SRE team, hey, we found that incident, I didn't find anything that would be matching, but how about we try this one out, right? And then you have the power to basically become a truly SRE-enabled infrastructure operations team. And then lastly, we talked about human in the loop in earlier conversations today, and then Ansible Policy as Code is an instrument as well in that area because it allows you to basically define policies that you need to adhere to before you execute something. Now, that's a bit of a guardrail, right? So that you're making sure AI just doesn't misfire something that was, let's say, erroneously encountered, but really making sure that whatever is executed is adhering to your policies. And the outcome is then basically that the automation is a cornerstone for your mission-critical systems and processes of your business. Now, moving on to developer productivity. I already covered a little bit. There is great stats out there. 86% of organizations are developing cloud-native applications, so cloud-native, stateless, microservices type architectures. But it also moves you in a paradigm away from monolithic into distributed computing. And then 76% of organizations say that learning our architecture requires high cognitive load, limiting productivity. And that's what I talked about a bit earlier, right? Cognitive load. So to be productive, you need to be able to focus on your programming task, but you can't do that if too much is on your plate. And then security, obviously, is also a big concern with 156% year-on-year growth of malicious packages. And I don't know whether you're aware of that, but there was a Python package not too long ago that was automatically downloaded, and that's how it spread. So how do we make a better security, better collaboration, faster deployments? Well, through our offering, again, based on the Open Hybrid Cloud Foundation, trusted software supply chain, a Red Hat Developer Hub, and OpenShift GitOps and OpenShift pipelines. That is a place that your developers can go to find the templates, to find the easy path, which is automatically the right path because you encoded all that knowledge and know-how that you need to put workloads into production. So how do we navigate the transition from the cloud era to the AI era was an earlier question. So now we have the right cloud and edge platform and automation platform in place. We're driving it to be as efficient as possible. And now from that starting point, how do we move this forward? How can we prepare for AI success? So we're moving into the AI space, as you can see. But before we go, I'd love us to step back and think through a few angles to approach this AI topic, right? So there is traditionally data collection in a central space, and then you use that data, and then you train your models with that data. But there's also other models called federated learning or federated AI, where you actually collect the data just in an edge environment, and because of data volume or data privacy restrictions, you don't send all the data to a central location. You actually train the models at the edge, and then you aggregate the learnings, the updated model weights and parameters centrally, and then you have basically everybody learns from the data, but no one actually shares the data. Very powerful concept. Then the next question is, what models and how many do you actually need? Like there's a multi-model approach where you have several predictive and generative AI models deployed on OpenShift AI, for example. Or do you need multimodal models, meaning a single model that understands, let's say, pictures and text and vibration and sound at the same time? What I've done recently with a semiconductor company in Japan, we looked in utilizing a industry-built, purpose-built for an industry model, semi-con, so it's like King Kong, but semi-con, it's for the semi-con industry, and that has embodied, it's been specifically trained with knowledge and the logistics of semi-con production, right? So that's also an option to look into. Are there specific industry vertical models? And then another angle is the access to your models, right? Democratizing access to fuel that innovation for your organization. There are different models available, like GPU as a service. You know, you can make this available, raising a ticket, getting a server back, you can do that. The automation through Ansible can actually make that happen. Or is it model as a service? You just get a model endpoint. Let's say you're in the semicon industry or the finance industry, you have a specific insurance or banking model, and you just get the endpoint and you can start using that model. Or do you need a cluster or containers or virtual machine as a service? All those models are available today for you to choose from whatever makes best sense for you. And then the tooling. Are we ingesting highly technical information like that semicon model? The CIO wasn't happy with the performance, so I took Dockling, which is an IBM open source project, and basically ingested highly technical information. There's a lot of tables in there, and you really need to be smart to understand how those things work together, and the Dockling framework made that happen. And then obviously MCP servers, agentic frameworks. As you can see, there's a lot to think of, right? And how do we boil this down? Well, I think we can use corporate first principles, like how does it look across revenue, cost, and risk management. We are on track globally to deliver about 1,000 AI initiatives for our customers, with our customers. Sometimes, you know, organizations look for the killer app, but I'm not convinced that this is actually always the right thing to do. Learning is also a very important aspect, right? To what works in AI, what doesn't work with AI. Do I have maybe an AI hammer in the hand and everything looks like an AI problem, or can I solve it differently? So we see AI as a strategic enabler. However, there's a wide variety of use cases, as you can see here, from quality control in manufacturing, real-time worker safety, equipment compliance checks. So we built that for our clients with our customers, and we have really used OpenShift AI and deployed a YOLO model for predictive video stream analysis, and then moved that picture, the analysis, into a image to text model to describe what's in this image, and then we feed that into a RAG, retrieval augmented generation capability, to be able to query a large language model in real time what the current safety equipment standard level is in a manufacturing plant, for example. And then we also do geospatial flood prediction and route planning, for example, which is also a very interesting and very nice use case. So as you can see, heaps of use cases out there. Our AI team outside would love to obviously talk with you and understand more how we can help to get you on the way. And so while this is all exciting, there's also some risks involved. There's a high demand, but there's also the fact that 55% picked, even though they're picked AI as a top new investment priority. Stats that we see is that 95% of organizations are getting zero return on their Gen AI projects. And I like, it's an external stats, but I also think it depends on how you look into that, right? Because if my team learned something from engaging in generative AI, there is no zero return on investment. It helps an organization to make an informed decision what works, what doesn't work, and how to move forward, right? So that's how I see that. And so the uncertainty that we see, however, in that AI transition is mostly based on the fact that a large technology transition causes often uncertainty by default. But right now there's also the fact that really, like every week, every day, we get new announcements on AI technologies and drivers, and that makes it a bit hard, right? So where should I invest? Is it this hardware? Is it this software stack? Because I need to also train my people up, right? So this situation currently creates a bit of a market uncertainty, but we have actually a plan to help you steering past this uncertainty. And Peter actually in his opening remark already alluded to that. And the uncertainty is creating like question marks around economic validity, business cases, and technology standards. So let's look at a customer example before I come back to you and answer that. Frankie, can you fly us to the AI?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Andreas. Let's see how to put AI into production. Turkish Airlines, one of the largest global airline networks, has transformed its business using Red Hat OpenShift and AI. They have served over 18 million passengers per year and managing extremely complex operations. And their technology team, Turkish Technology, power both their daily operation and next-generation digital products. And they have a vision to put AI into core, not just for automation only, but also to build a smarter system. And the transformation begins in data-rich areas like dynamic pricing, fraud prevention, personalized customer service. And they're able to leverage computer vision with turnaround AI so that they can monitor ground operation in real time and reducing delay. And all these applications are built and scaled on OpenShift. Today, AI is embedded throughout Turkish Airlines in retail, in planning, in ground operation, and also in customer engagement. And one of their AI initiatives, tail assignment solution, have improved their fuel efficiency by 0.2%. It seems like to be a small number, but actually it's helped them to save more than $10 million per year. And it is just one of the AI projects. Right now, they are running over 60 AI models in production and 40 AI models in development. And looking forward, Turkish Technology is aimed to build a private generative AI infrastructure. They have already launched several projects like generative AI chatbot for call center agents, and an internal GPT model for documentation. And one of their latest AI projects is to combine agentic AI with MCP so that their traveler can use their own AI assistant to manage flight booking, check-in, and update flight status. And I'm going to show you a demonstration about how to leverage agentic AI in your daily work. And right now, I'm in a chatbot that is called a PowerShell Account Insight Tools. That's where I can perform the customer analysis. And in the back-end side, I have several MCP server integrated. For example, document generator, Slack integration, sales and support portal, and also report processor. And I'm choosing number 32VB model right now. And I would like to ask the AI to help for analyze the account based on the recent support cases, and then generate a PDF summary report, and then send those information to me through Slack. And then once I click Grow, the MCP agent will search through all the cases that are open in the sales and support portal, and then start doing analysis. And here is the summary. It's found out that the customer is not happy due to there are 2 opening cases. And then I will receive a Slack message here. And when I click the link, I found out that all the document has already uploaded to the document repository. And here we are. You can see I have an account summary here, and then all the support cases I created before. So in this example, you can see how powerful it is when you combine agentic AI in your daily work. So Andreas, before I go, if you want to review all the demo I showed today, here is a QR code. You can visit interact.redhat.com. There are over 100 demonstrations that with in-depth details. And Andreas, please tell us more about Red Hat AI portfolio.
Thank you, Frankie. And I think internal use cases, as Frankie just shown, is a great way to get started. So what does Red Hat now bring to that AI journey for you? Well, first of all, we're building on this open hybrid cloud, as I said earlier, but it also allows you to get started quickly, right? To learn, to get on this journey. And you see components here on the left-hand side. We have optimized models, right? Inference optimization is a big topic once you go into production. But then also, what does your model look like? Do you need to fine-tune it? Do you use retrieval augmented generation or tool augmented generation in an agentic world, for example? And then what do you run the models on, right? Are you running agents? Are you running apps? And large language models or predictive ones, right? And for that, we have Red Hat Linux AI and inference server. And this is a great way to get started, right? Your model and the infrastructure there. And then if you move forward, then you can see that this is how the Red Hat AI platform actually scales with you, right? So you learn, you get started quickly, and once you learn, then basically the building blocks, they don't change. They basically just expand into the ecosystem and also the way you scale it then from an infrastructure perspective, whether it's GPUs or compute, storage, and things like that, okay? So now back to this, I said we're going to come back to this, and this is really what I said Peter already mentioned a little bit earlier, right? So the way we take those uncertainties away is through any AI model, any AI accelerator, whether it's a GPU, NPU, TPU, in any location. So that's our engineering promise. That's what we're working every day on, to take really that undifferentiated heavy lifting away so you can focus on your AI use case of choice. So in summary, I'm bringing us home now. Red Hat AI enables you to build upon the Open Hybrid Cloud Foundation. In today's keynote, Frankie and I took you through a couple of things, which is looking back to extract learnings from the past and how we apply this in what's coming. We looked into how to further optimize your cloud, AI, and edge journeys. The themes we broke out to were efficiency and modernization. We applied this to RHEL 10, Ansible, and OpenShift as such, and then moved on to virtualization, AI-aided automation, and developer productivity. We showed 3 different customer use cases, but we, of course, have many more. And we concluded then that Red Hat enables AI journey through giving you your AI journey through giving you choice, all right? And with that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention. I also want to remind you that the Red Hat team outside is waiting eagerly to talk to you and explore your use cases and your challenges. And with that, I'd like to say, Dotse Sei.